Hi, today I want to show you how to make these daisy chain necklaces, which are the perfect beginner beading project because they're super easy to make and they come together really quickly. Let's take a look at the supplies we're going to use. I am using a size 11 seed bead here. I have two colors, but you could obviously use as many colors as you want to. I have a size 12 beading needle. I have these little thread guards, which are also called wire guards sometimes. I have a jump ring and a lobster claw clasp. The thread I'm using today is called Fireline, which is a nice strong thread, which is great for this project. To get started, you're going to want to cut a 5-foot length of your beading thread and thread your needle. And then we're going to add a little stopper bead to keep your beads from falling off the end. I'm using a different color here so that we don't get confused. I slide that down towards the end of my thread, and then I bring my needle back up through it, creating a little loop. So once this is tight, you'll be able to slide this bead up and down your thread. You want to leave at least a 5-inch tail so that we can work it back in later. And now I'm going to pick up my spacer beads. In this particular pattern, I am using 12 beads in between each flower. So I'm picking up 12 of the green beads. And then I'm going to pick up 4 of the pink beads. And then my center bead is a green bead. So 4 petal beads and 1 center bead. I slide those down. And now I want to take my needle and run it back through the first pink bead, heading towards the tail of my work. So I'm coming back down through, towards the tail, through that first bead. And when I pull it tight, we have half of our flower. And now to complete the flower, we're going to pick up 2 more beads, and then we go through the 4th bead that we added initially of the flower petal beads. And I pull that through, and just like that, you have your first flower. Super easy. I'm going to show you this 2 more times. So I'm going to first add my spacer beads, so 12 beads here. And then after that, I'm going to pick up my petal beads. So that will be 4 of the pink beads. And I'll follow that by 1 green bead, which will be the center of this flower. Slide that down. Now I take my needle and I come back down through the first of the 4 pink beads, heading towards the tail end of my work where the spacer bead is. I pull that tight, and then I pick up 2 more of the petal beads, and I come through the 4th of the petal beads that I added previously. And you want to sort of hold those beads in your fingers and slide it down. Make sure there's no gap between the flower and the spacer beads. And now I'm going to show you that one more time, and then you're going to be on your own. For this particular necklace, I used 21 flowers, which gave me an 18-inch necklace. But obviously you could do as many or as few as you'd like. So here I am one more time, adding 4 of the flower petal beads, 1 center bead, slide those down. Now I bring my needle back down through the first of those 4 beads towards the tail where I started. Pull that tightly, and then add 2 more petal beads and come through that 4th bead. And there we have it. Now you just want to keep doing that until you have 21 flowers, and meet me back here. Okay, so here I am. I've completed my 21 flowers, and I'm ready to add a clasp to turn this into a necklace. So I take my needle, and I'm going to pick up my little thread guard. And you'll see at the end of the thread guard there are little holes. I'm going to bring my needle through the hole on one side like this. And then down through the hole on the other side, like so. And at this point, I'm going to add my clasp. Slide that up over the thread guard. And now I'm going to take my needle back through these spacer beads. Now I want to be able to bring my thread back through that thread guard again. So how I'm going to do that is to loop around this flower all the way around it until I'm heading back in the direction of the thread guard. So here I am looping around. Almost there. And then now I will bring my needle back down through those spacer beads. This is when it's important to be using the right size needle and the right size thread, because you do need to pass through these beads a few times. And having the wrong needle and having things be too tight will be really frustrating. So materials are really important to your success as a beader. So I'm finally back at the thread guard, and I'm just going to go right around that thread guard again. The important thing with your thread guard is always check to make sure your thread actually stays in that little channel, because it's super frustrating if it falls out and you figure that out later, because then you really can't fix it. So make sure it stays in there. Otherwise, your thread isn't being guarded. So I'm going to come back down the other side of this thread guard. And then back into the beadwork again. And here you kind of see what I mean. The thread is in the channel of that thread guard, but you always want to check that before you carry on. So now I'm going to work back down through this beadwork. This time I'm not going to go around the flower. I'm just going to go around the outside edge of the flower and exit into the spacer beads. Sorry for the bad camera work here. I'll get there eventually. Here we go. Into the flower. And now we are back into the spacer beads again. And here I'm going to stop and make a knot. So I loop around and bring my needle back through this little loop. And then I'm going to pull slowly to make sure the thread ends up between those two beads, hidden between those two beads, and pull that tightly. And now I'm going to take my needle, and this time I am going to go around this flower to create some tension in the thread. So I'm going to loop all the way around this flower, because you never want to cut your thread right where you made your knot, because then it is more likely to come undone. So here I'm creating some tension, which will also hold the thread in place in addition to the knot. It's always good to have two ways to secure your thread. So I come all the way around this flower. And now I'm almost through the flower, and I'm going to exit through into the spacer beads again. And now I can clip this. After that, I'm going to repeat the same exact process on the other side, but first you slide off your spacer bead and then you're going to add a jump ring rather than a clasp on the other side. And there we have it. We did it. These are some examples of other ones I've made with the third color in the center of the bead. And I mean, the options are really limitless. There's so many different color combinations and spacings you can try. So I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you check out some of my other videos. Bye.